All right, John Meeks here again with Wods and CrossFit Greensboro, here with my compatriot Bruce Fields and Mason to demonstrate the second individual WOD, the chariot race. This workout is a 5-minute AMRAP. It'll start off with a 100-meter row, followed by one sled push. Then it's a 150-meter row, followed by one sled push, 200-meter row, followed by one sled push, etc. The weight for the males is 45 pounds on the sled. The weight for the females is 25 pounds on the sled. Here's the good thing about this workout. Everybody can compare themselves to everybody else. So whether you're an RX male or a beginner male, you're doing the same weight on the sled and the same rower. Okay? Let's talk about the standards for this workout. So athletes can start on the rower. They do not have to clip their feet in at the beginning. They can unclip their feet, is fine. Okay, setting can be wherever they want it to be. The setting on the rower will be just row. So it'll start from 0 and count up. Once the athlete starts rowing, they have to keep their handles on the handle until it passes the mark that they're supposed to be at. So if he's rowing and he's at 95 and he lets the handle go, okay? Now, the judge, if the row passes 100, then he's going to get off and he's going to do 5 burpees as a penalty for letting that go too early. Okay? If it goes past 100, okay, then he's going to get off and still do 5 burpees. If it doesn't go past 100, he's got to get it past 100 and then do 5 burpees. So either way, if he lets go of the handle before the mark, then he's going to get a 5 burpee penalty. Okay? From there, he's going to get off the rower, go to the sled. The sled distance will be marked out in sections. Basically, there will be 4 sections on the floor where you're pushing the sled. It will not be on wood or rubber. You'll actually be pushing it on the concrete floor. You're going to push the sled. You must completely pass the end. So bring it past the end. Oh, okay. That's it. He's going to pass the cone. All right, at this point, he can turn the sled around or he can take the handles out and put them on the other side. Either way, doesn't matter how he does that. Okay. A couple of restrictions though. Number 1, if he drops the handles or loses them, it is his responsibility to pick them up. The judge will not help. 2, if he spins it around, he must stay in his lane. Okay. If he interferes with anybody else, if he pushes his sled into another lane and it interferes with another athlete, then he will be disqualified from that workout. Okay. So it's motivation. We're going to have plenty of room. Stay in your lane. If you start driving out of lanes, train wrecks happen. So we don't want anybody to get hurt. Okay. The way this will be scored is your total meters rowed will be added towards the total sled pushes. Each sled push counts as 200 added to your meters. So if you do one 100-meter row and one sled push, that's a score of 300. 450, 650. Okay? The sled push will be broken up into sections where each section counts a quarter. So you'll push down. First section is 25, 50, 75, 100. Going back, 125, 150, 175, 200. Okay? Questions about that?
At what point, when the clock stops, if they're on a sled push, does the sled have to be touching the mark? Does the sled have to be completely past the mark?
The sled has to be completely past the mark. What we'll do is we'll have judges lined up on those cones, and they're going to be looking down through the cones. When time is called, if your sled is not past that mark, or if you push it past the time mark, they're going to come out and bring the sled back to where it should be. Yes?
So does that mean that if you've passed the 150 and you're almost to 175, but you haven't passed 175, you're just going to get 150?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, you have to completely pass a cone for that distance to count for your score.
The whole sled has to be passed?
The whole sled has to be passed. The athlete does not have to be passed. What they're looking for is the sled itself. So if you're pushing the sled and you get to this point where the sled is passed but your feet are behind, they're looking for the sled only. As a judge, we'll have judges set up along those marks so that they're looking across, and that's all they're looking for is when we say time at each of those 4 marks, they're going to look and see who passes that after the time is called, and then they'll go and move those back. If you're judging this, okay, you're going to stay with the athlete on the rower here. Okay, make sure that they complete the row and reset their row in between each one. Okay. You will not need to follow the athlete out onto the floor. The only thing that you're looking for is when they come back to your end, you'll keep an eye on that they pass the line at the end. We'll have other judges set up down the line to make sure people get past the lines at the other end. Questions?
Can the athlete release his hands from the sled at the last push on the last second?
That's a very good question. No.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question was, can the athlete push the sled and release it? No. They have to keep their hands on the sled the entire time.
It's a safety thing. We want you guys to stay in control of the sled. We don't need you taking out one of our judges or another athlete.
Yes.
On the road, do you have to wait for the judge to say, like, if he gets to the 100 and you let go, or should you wait?
Just make sure you're past the 100. So if your opinion differs from the judge's opinion matters.
But will the judge be there and say good? On the,
Yes.
On the road?
Yeah.
So it's better probably just wait. For
Yes.
him, even if he's a little late.
Yes. Always wait on the judge.
Will there be equipment people to reset that?
Yes. Well, not to the rower. The judge will reset the rower. There'll be the equipment judge. The judges on the line will help push the sleds back to position.
When I come back to the row and start going for 200 meters.
So no, your judge is not going with you. So your judge is standing there. You start pushing the sled, they can reset the rower while you're pushing the sled. The sled distance is not, it's pretty sizable, so just be ready for that. All right. And that is individual workout number 2, the chariot race.